So All Stars is going to be shutting down in the not too near future, and I found that a really big shame, but I did want to really focus on one of the big features of that game, and that of course is the MVs. There were a lot of good MVs in there, and I wanted to highlight my personal favorites. I know they had their own poll where you can vote on All-Star MVs and which is your favorite, but they limited to 3 sections, one for each group, and not even all the options were available in there, which I found kind of odd. So I wanted to go and do this exercise for me and pick my favorites. I ended up picking my top 20 because there's too many to pick, but in all I think there's 110 MVs. Yes, there's including the other versions of songs which I'm not really including, but that's besides the point. So what are my favorite MVs and All-Stars? Before I get to that, I want to explain kind of my criteria and how I decided what were my favorites. So for this exercise, when I was rewatching these MVs, I turn off the audio because I don't want the song to be an influence on how much I like the actual MV itself. I'm going to be focusing on the visuals, what I see and not what I hear, even though sometimes when I see it, I kind of play that song back in my head. I just want to be focusing on how it looks. So I'll be looking at the choreography. I'm going to be looking at the stage. I'm not going to be really focusing on outfits too much, but nice outfits are good. But again, I'm going to keep that separate. And I just want to see how good it looks, how fun and exciting it is to watch this MV. And for me personally, I want to see something that's fun and interesting. Slower ones, yes, are kind of getting not do so well here. I'm sorry, but songs like the ending themes, like Dona Tokumazuto, I love the song, but the choreography is kind of boring. But I'm looking to see, do they do a lot of scene switching? Do they throw in a lot of special effects? Are there cool lighting? Are there props that come in and out? How accurate is the stage to the anime version of it? Some are not even remotely close, and then I really don't like that. But some are actually pretty dang close with some modifications. I find it a shame that they never almost always try to mirror it exactly. But if they do that, there's a lot of bonus points in my heart if they try to do that. And it was a real nice trend that they started doing towards later of All-Stars MVs, but now that it's dying, that's kind of a shame. But those are more or less what I look for. I wanted to see, how true is it to the original, but is it exciting overall? Because even if it's true to the original, if it's boring, does it really matter? So that's part of ways that it could be affected. But without further ado, let's go ahead and go over the MVs, starting with 20th place. So starting off in 20th place, I have Bokutachi wa Hitosu no Hikari, and I really want to put it higher, and it really pains me to put this low. But the MV itself isn't the most interesting out there. But, the reason why I really love it is because of the song. The stage itself does a lot of things that I did appreciate. The fact that the stage, of course, is actually generally the flower, and it opens in the beginning. That's amazing. It's missing some things apart in the stage where you don't have the white floating balls. And of course they do have the parts where you have the flowers in the background, but it's just the screen in the background. It doesn't look as nice as you see in the MV of the one you see in the movie, which you see in the bottom right. So, there's things where, it just doesn't look as nice as the anime, but that's going to be true for basically everything in All-Stars. But, overall, I still enjoyed watching this MV a lot, but it isn't exactly the most exciting. It would be cool if there was a little more effects there to make it a little more interesting. And the camera effects are not as dynamic as they are in the anime, and when you look at the MV, it's like, okay, but it could be a lot more exciting and interesting. I still like this MV overall, I really do, but there's elements that make it not quite as exciting as watching the experience, and the reason why I play these MVs without sound is because that's the point. Just watch the MV and see how exciting it is. And I feel like something is really missing without the audio. And I really wish they had the sky everywhere, but instead they're in an indoor stadium, which it kind of makes me not as crazy excited because it's not fully accurate to the actual MV in there. So overall, I still like it, but there's too many corners cut for me to put it that high. and it's not exactly the most exciting MV to watch. Next up, I have Monster Girls by Reaper, and this is already a lot more exciting in terms of what we see in terms of effects as well as the choreography. And I still, of course, do like the other choreographies that are here, but this one is just a little more exciting to watch, especially when you just turn off the audio. You get to see more action happening, and that's more of something that, of course, I'm interested in. I like to see a lot of action and a little more, fast-paced stuff. But Rebirth itself does have a bit of that. Now, the stage itself, it looks nice, but generic. I feel like you could use the stage for a lot of songs without it really being specific to that song, because it's just a bunch of lights here. They got the lights on the floor and the walls and lights flashing around here and there, and it's got TV in the background with just constantly lights moving towards you. It's still a fun MV to watch, don't get me wrong. I do like watching it, but there's nothing that it makes me think, wow, that's special, or wow, this is really, really cool. This is something only Monster Girls can do. It's a tad generic here and there. So that's what I feel like it's missing. And there are some decent effects here. They have the parts where they split the screen, which is nice, but other songs do that too as well. And the effects are nice, but it's not the most interesting out there as well. I still think this is a good MV, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a lot of other songs, or I should say MVs, that do it a lot better. Now we go to Firebird by Cotton, and this is a pretty dang good MV, but the one thing I did notice when I was watching it is I felt something was missing when I turned off the audio, and that's why I kind of moved it more down towards this spot, because a good amount of the fun of the song is listening to the song itself. But this is still a fun song. There's a lot of dance and movement, and I find it's really fun to watch, and the stage looks pretty nice. It is reused for the other Niji solo songs. That's just a thing that Niji MVs do, is because it's hard to make 9 unique, 10, 11, 12 unique stages for each solo song when they release an album. But it does at least enough to spice enough to make it where it feels different than some other ones. And of course there was the Rose prop, which I do appreciate, something unique for this MV they have there. But the effects are a little sparse. It would have been nice if they had a little bit more here and there, not like where they had to throw it every single second. But it still looks obviously really fun, and it's still a good MV overall. Now we go to Miracle Wave, and of course the main reason why a lot of people like this is of course the backflip, which we will get to. In terms of the MV, it has a lot of dance elements, and the stage more or less looks pretty similar to the one we see in the anime. There are some, differences here and there, but I don't think they're that egregious. But the stage itself, I don't know, it's a little not too special. It kind of feels like, yeah, this is just another stage for a live song, and that's it. It still looks nice, don't get me wrong. It's nothing crazy special or unique or something that feels very different from a bunch of other songs. But of course, the big factor here is that we get to see the backflip, and this was really fun to do in All Stars, to just change who does the backflip. I did it myself with every single girl. That was definitely one part that they did not screw up here. They got the backflip, although they could have made it a little more interesting like in the anime when the angles, but I still think it was still pretty great overall. It looks nice overall, but it's not exactly the most flashy MV. And if you just take out the backflip, it's kind of like, well, it's nice, but what's so special about this? So overall, yeah, it's good, and the backflip does help it move up all the way up to here. So next up, we go to Kanto's solo song Ma Hen Star, which, of course, yes, I know this isn't the most exciting, fast MV, and that is definitely something that I do like to look for, with all the fast choreography and a lot of effects to really spicing up the MV here. But this one's relatively slow, and you look at the choreography, it's it's a Kanata song. It's not going to be super fast, and it would be kind of wrong to have a boatload of those effects really take over the MV overall. So it's got to be something a little bit more gentle. But there are things that I really like this part where it switches from the day to kind of the night scene. This isn't a changing a stage, but it's like a big transformation of the stage. A lot of effects changing how it looks, and for that time, that was pretty dang cool. But of course, my favorite part of this MV is where we go to the chorus and Encanto sits on that moon, and that moon actually lifts off of the stage. We don't get that in other MVs, and that what makes this really special and unique. And even compare this to the live performance, the stage doesn't pick up. Well, that's obviously because of safety concerns. We don't want the stage to accidentally fall off and get hurt. But that's what makes this really cool and unique, is that we get to see Kanto hovering in the air. And it just looks really nice, and that's part why I really like this MV, strictly because, well, mainly because of this, but also it just really looks nice, and we see all the glitter and the sparkles. She interacts with a cloud. I just think this was pretty fantastic. It's not the most exciting in terms of speed, but this is something that I really appreciate and found really cool and unique. Now we go to Shihiriko's solo song, Aoi Kanaria. And of course, Kanaria meaning canary. We get to see the birdcage in the background, and that's one of the big things that changes in this stage when you compare it to the other third solo songs or Love the Life We Live album solo songs. And there's one main part of this MV that I do want to highlight, which I think really shows one of the best parts of this MV. So there's a part when you get this MV and it shifts and suddenly the stage goes all purple and we get laser lights that fly across. That is one of the coolest parts of this MV right here. And the thing is, these are not just lasers that are in the background. This actually goes in front and behind. That looks really cool. And that's part of the reason why I put it this high, because I really like this effects. And don't get me wrong, the rest of the MV is still pretty nice, but this is the part that really separates it from the others and what makes it a little more unique, because we don't get a whole lot of that kind of effects elsewhere in other MVs. This still definitely got fast. We got the bird flying across the screen, we got feathers falling down, but beyond it, it's like nothing too crazy special. But I really do like that laser effect a lot, so that's why I decided to put it up here. Now we go to Mirai Ticket, and this is a song that I really do enjoy. But for the MV, it's pretty good. It doesn't have a lot of cool effects that you see in the anime where they zoom out a lot more. I wish they did that more frequently. They will do later in the anime, and it looks really nice. I just was kind of surprised they didn't do it that much, and especially the parts where they jump, that was straight up cut from the MV. I don't know, toward anime maybe, but I was like, that's part of the cool parts of the choreography, and they cut that, and I'm kind of sad about that. But otherwise, we get a nice looking stage. The girls do the dance more or less to how we expect, but there isn't like a whole lot of crazy nice effects here either. It's just more or less a nice looking stage with some minimal effects and some decent camera movements around. So overall, I do enjoy this one, and it just feels like this is a lot worse than what we get in the anime, because the anime looks a lot nicer. It gets a lot better when we get to the chorus. They actually get more dynamic with the camera and you get to see the effects. That's kind of usual for a lot of songs. But it doesn't even have a crazy high peak. Like this scene right there is probably my favorite part of the whole MV. And that's something that is mind-boggling in terms of how great it looks. Overall, I like it. And I was just hoping for a little bit more though. Now we move on to Moment Ring by Muse, and this one is pretty dang good. I think I like this more than the After School Activity version for a few reasons. So we get to see these girls, walk them from the stage, but they changed the screen background to match the colors of the girls. It'd been cooler if they had their symbols and icons and all that, but hey, at least that's something, I suppose. But overall, we got a pretty dang good looking stage. This is kind of similar to how I feel about, you know, Mirai Ticket. This stage looks really nice. It's really big. You know, it, unlike a lot of the other earlier Squall Festival All-Stars MVs, that just feels like the stage is kind of all the way in front and you barely see the audience. This one, you have the girls surrounded by the audience and have them walking around, which feels a lot more fun to look at, where, you know, a lot of the angles you get to see a lot more of the stage. The screens in the backgrounds aren't exactly the most exciting when they're building up to the chorus, but it gets a lot more interesting when the chorus actually goes off, because if you pay attention to the screens when they do the chorus, you get to see the old MVs, you get to see Snow Halation, you get to see Boku no Life Kyun to No Life, you get to see Wonderful Rush, all the MVs there. And they also changed the middle stage to be kind of looking like grass, which I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Overall, it looks nice, but it is a little lacking in terms of effects, so it isn't exactly the most exciting MV out there, but I do think this looks very good overall. So next up we have Happy Party Train, and of course one of the things you'll notice is, wow, the stage is actually outside, which, hey, I'm all for that. A lot of stages are not actually indoors for a lot of Love Live MVs in terms of the anime. So I'm glad they actually went outside and actually have sky and everything. That's really cool. Now, of course, the stage isn't exactly perfect. They don't have the railroad tracks. They put that in the video in the background. That's how they try to conquer a lot of the issues. And they also don't have those really cool kaleidoscope effects in the background with the color of the girl when they go over the girl. That's kind of a shame. I wish they did that. That's one thing that's definitely missing, and that's one of the kind of the eye candy parts of this song. It's like, whoa, that looks really cool. So that's kind of a shame. But one thing they did do is they did the effects of the weather, where they go ahead and change the weather depending on who's singing it. So we start with, you know, fall, and then we get winter, then we'll get spring when Hanamaru sings. So that was definitely really cool to see the stage transform, and we don't get that in a whole lot of songs. So that's definitely one of the really cool effects. But beyond that, there isn't really effects there, so that's why I didn't move it super high. It's a decent stage. I appreciate it's outside, and the weather change effects was really nice. But past that, it's okay. There, of course, is the part when they go to the chorus. That's also, should I mention, one of the really cool effects is when they switch it to night, and then we actually get the railroads that come out. That's definitely probably the highlight of this MV in general, is this part of the stage. And, you know, it looks cool. Honestly, it does remind me a little bit of the Galaxy Hide and Seek stage. But overall, this looks nice. I wish it did glow up in the end, though. Overall, pretty decent. Well, I had to get one Setsun MV in here, right? So the one I picked was Like It Love It. The other one, of course, was Chase, but I felt Chase was rather a little lacking in terms of the effects. But Like It Love It, of course, it's a pretty good song, but they did a lot of effects here to really make this a really fun and exciting MV. And, you know, you could see it change depending on the moments, right? Because right now, you see it's like a lot of blue. It's darker because it's the verses that we're building up to the really fiery and exciting chorus. And there's just a lot of moments and different angles that you get to see in this MV, where you get to truly get a lot of different looks at the effects and the emotions that Setsun has during this MV. So overall, I find this just a really fun one to watch. I think they did a good job really exhibiting the energy and the excitement they have in this song. And of course, I guess I should mention, there is a prop in here. It's the microphone. It doesn't drastically change anything, but hey, more props the better, I guess. And of course, once we actually get to the chorus, it's really fun overall. So, Strawberry Trapper, right? I'm kind of surprised how well this holds up, because of course this was one of the original MVs here, but after watching it more recently, I'm kind of surprised how decent it was. They had a lot of good effects. It's really fun. They had, the stage, and then of course in the screen, the background, it changes a lot depending on the situation. You got times where you got the feathers to represent Yoshiko. We have the bullet holes in the screen, and then later you'll see it kind of like a roulette spinning in the background, which I thought was really cool. They changed the scenes a lot, and it's not like the most amount of effects out there, but it's a pretty good for the beginning All-Stars MV, because a lot of the All-Stars MVs, I kind of look at them just thinking, they're not that crazy exciting, and I didn't include that many, but this one really does surprise me how good it was. And I'm not even a big Strawberry Trapper fan. I think it's a decent song, but this was a lot of things cool, and of course there was the sniper scope as well. How could I forget about that? That was a really cool effect. Well, this actually stands up pretty well in the test of time, and honestly, this one's a fun one to watch even to this day. And of course, I had to talk about Mitaiken Horizon, because this one, of course, looks pretty good. Now, the stage itself also looks really nice, though I wish there was more the actual stage itself, rather than just kind of half of it. But we get to see, of course, the intro, which is great. You don't get to see it very well in the backstage with the screen, though, which I'm kind of sad about. But at least, they did put in the effort to show the previous MVs in the screen. But, this stage looks great. And, of course, you also see a lot of the nice effects in the background with the butterflies, because they actually went and actually animated butterflies flying across. And you'll see them here and there, and they look nice. They genuinely do. This is definitely a stage that shows that they can make it a lot more interesting. And the effects are relatively simple. In terms of the effects, the main cool thing is the butterflies, really. Overall, though, I find this definitely a nice looking MV. It's not the most exciting in terms of effects or choreography, but they definitely did a good job making it look good. And that's one of the things I do really appreciate about this one. So, Supernova, huh? Yeah, this actually caught me off guard when this came out, because I was like, wow, this actually looks pretty cool. I remember watching it live and be like, if the MV could capture some of the essence of that, this could be one stellar MV. I'm not a crazy big Supernova fan, but I like this MV. This MV is pretty stunning, and they do a good job of switching between the two different girls, where one is going to be that warm orange color, and the other is going to be that dark blue color, and they switch, which thank God they do, and they just don't try to cheap out and do one side's orange, one side's blue, and keep it that way. They switch it, and that is definitely appreciated. The effects, of course, look really nice, and there's nothing like super crazy stellar, but they do a lot of different angles to make it really fun and exciting to watch. And once we go to the chorus, you get a lot of dynamic angles that make this overall just a really fun MV to watch. I don't think it does anything super crazy exciting, but I just find it exhilarating to watch, and it does a lot with not a crazy amount. And I think it does a good job of making it just overall a fun experience. I honestly wanted to rate Dancing Stars on Me higher, but I'm kind of disappointed in this stage, because they just took this No Halation stage and let's throw some jack-o'-lanterns in the background and make it change a few colors here to make it a little bit more Halloween-y. So, I'm not crazy about that, but at least they didn't skimp on the effects. They still have the floating, jack-o'-lanterns and ghosts in the background. That was great. I would kind of been mad if they didn't have that, but having that there was really nice and makes it feel a lot more like the original MV that we have in the anime. And overall, and the lighting isn't as crazy nice as you would see in the anime, but again, as I said before, that's true for a lot of them there. But they did do a pretty good job of keeping a lot of the effects otherwise in this MV, and I'm glad to see that they didn't cut those parts out, because that's definitely one of the things that I really enjoyed about watching in this MV. Another thing is, I wish when they transitioned from the second part of the chorus, they would switch to the streets like they do in the anime MV, because guess what, we had that stage. At least they could have repurposed Sunny Day's song. But otherwise, the stage still looks nice, and I do really like some of the effects here. Not like they're the crazy most exciting ones, but it still overall looks relatively nice. So overall, I do like it, but I feel like there's a lot of missed potential here to make it even better. So next up we go to My Tonight, and they did a pretty good job of trying to make the stage again, but then again they did do the part where they cut the front half and they don't actually look at the actual ceiling, which I'm kind of disappointed. They just say, we'll take the ceiling and slap it in the background, and that doesn't really truly capture the essence and the lively energy of the song. So I'm a little disappointed by that. But at least the rest of the stage looks pretty nice and really captures the essence and the style of the song. And we've really got that oriental feeling, which I'm glad they did do that at least. And they do some of the angles, but it doesn't just quite have that flair that I was hoping. So overall, it's still a fun MV. But again, it's also a little bit of that missed potential that I'm talking about that I've seen some other MVs deal with. It's still got nice effects, and of course it's definitely fun and exciting to watch, don't get me wrong. But it could have been even better. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of people's favorites, Water Blue New World. And one thing you'll notice right away is, wow, look at that stage. And yes, the stage looks pretty nice. Not as nice as the anime. I was hoping to see a little bit more with the clouds and not a static night sky. As far as I can tell, there's no stars, actually glimmering. It's just static. And it takes away a little bit of the immersion, especially when you look at the MV and you see the sky actually changing. That would be even better. So I lost a few points in my heart because of that. But it still looks good. There's not a crazy amount of effects, and something that would have helped was all that glimmering, because the stage overall feels relatively static. It looks nice, but static. So after you look at it for a while, it kind of isn't as interesting. So of course, part of the other fun of this is when we switch to our stage, and that looks really nice. But then we go to a stage that we've seen a bowl of other songs, so it's not like it feels like this is a brand new stage, although this is the stage that you see in the anime, so I guess I can't complain because it is the right stage. But it feels a little generic, but it's still overall it looks really nice, don't get me wrong, and I really do like the way they ended this MV. Overall, this is a good MV. And it was such a big upgrade compared to a lot of the previous MVs we've seen. So this is definitely one that deserves a lot of praise. So we go to Koi ni Narutai Aquarium, and I definitely like this one more than some of the other ones because they do a pretty good job of trying to recreate the stage, but actually fully recreating the stage. They're not actually in a full aquarium like they are in the anime, but at least they put a lot of decorations in the background and they all glow and light up. I really do appreciate a lot of this because this is definitely one of my favorite stages in the anime. It just looks really nice, and I really like what they did here. Of course, they have a lot of the other effects. We have bubbles flying up around, we have a bunch of fish flying across the screen. That's all really cool and makes this a really fun MV to watch. And I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like saying this isn't really a whole lot worse than the original experience, and it does some things that you might say, oh well, I like this because I get to see more parts of the dance unlike you get to see in the anime. It didn't have the fish flying across literally in front of the screen like that did in the MV, but at least it was flying in the background. So, you know, it's not exactly perfect, and it would be even cooler if they had fish literally, you know, swimming amongst them in the actual air, in the stage itself. But it still looks really nice, and this is definitely the one of the ones that I enjoy watching all the time. This one's definitely a bit more of a me pick than I would say other people, but I really do like the Galaxy Hide and Seek MV. Yes, I really do like the song as well, but I'm kind of a sucker for space and, you know, looking at the starry night sky, and where, you know, you get a little good look at the galaxy in a song called Galaxy Hide and Seek. But on top of that, they do a lot of effects with the lights in the background. No, it's not like flying everywhere, you know, like you experience more songs, because, you know, this song does start a little slower, but this looks so pretty. Don't get me wrong, this looks really pretty. I really like the stage, and we actually get some glimmering effects here, which like we didn't get in Water Blue New World, which actually came out later, so I was kind of a little surprised that we didn't get that. But I just really like looking at this one. This one truly is just a treat to look at. It's not exactly the most crazy choreography out there, and it doesn't have the most amazing effects. And yes, they kind of repurposed the stage with Happy Party Train, which you kind of feel like it's odd, but hey, we get a look outside at the galaxy, which I thought was really great to see. So overall, I really do like this MV a lot. And it might not be true for everyone else, but hey, actual glimmering in the sky, that's cool. So for second place, I have Dreaming Color. Though I can definitely see why people might put this number one, and I wasn't even sure if I want to put this 2 or 1, but I ended up putting it in second place. Dreaming Color, this stage is fantastic. Dear Lord, this looks so good, and the fact that it's actually outside is another huge W. And you get to see the beach in the background and the sunset. Oh my goodness, this stage is just incredible. There isn't exactly a whole lot of effects in the beginning, which isn't exactly the most exciting, so you're mostly just dependent on the choreography and the panning of the camera, which isn't crazy interesting. But once you get to the chorus and you get a good look at the whole stage and the floating lanterns, that's when you realize, wow, this looks fantastic, and it's another wow moment for this MV. This MV is gorgeous, and I just find this really, really fun to look at. I have to give major props to the animators here, because this looks really great, and I'm just so glad that this song got, you know, something that looks so good. I wasn't even expecting something like this, but wow, this is what shows the true potential of All Stars, and this is just fantastic. It doesn't necessarily look quite as good as the actual MV, none of them do, but like, dang, this looks pretty dang great. So before I get to my number 1 MV, here are a bunch of honorable mentions that I highly considered, and, you know, for some reason it fell out of my list. Maybe because the effects weren't as interesting, or the choreography isn't the most interesting, or it's really missing a lot of things that I was hoping to see be in the MV that just didn't make it. Whether it's some things were just more static than they were in the original, or some stages were just reused, so it wasn't too unique to it. Especially a lot of the older ones tend to fall more in the honorable mention, because I still do like them a lot, but when you compare it to what came out more recently, it's clear what is more interesting and better. But now, without further ado, let's go and jump to my favorite School Idol Festival All Stars MV. So the song that I put over Dreamy Color would be Mirai Harmony. Why? Well, I think they both have their own merits. I think Dreamy Color overall and any individual spot will probably be better, but I think Mirai Harmony has a much higher peak. Well, at least that's debatably so. I can see why someone might rank one over the other. I will not argue against them, because I think they're both very valid points. This one, for Mirai Harmony, it has a really nice looking stage. This is, of course, the Niju Bridge. This is where it connects to Odaiba, where the girls participate school. You see this bridge all the time. And in terms of when we have in the chorus, yeah, we basically just see the girls on the very nice looking bridge, and in terms of effects, it's just the shooting star in the background of the color of that girl. And then they start lighting up the bridge, and then once you get to the chorus, then it starts getting a little bit more interesting as they change the color of the bridge. And that's when you start realizing, whoa, this is actually pretty cool. But wait until you get to see the second part of the chorus, because if you thought this looked nice, it gets even better. And it lights up with the colors of the rainbow. This is truly the peak of All-Stars, and this part alone is why I rated number 1. This looks really stunning, and I can't imagine the misery of the animators going to make this looking that good. This is fantastic, and this is why it deserves the number 1 spot for me, because of that part alone. It just looks so good. So now we can talk about my poll. I know the official poll is a thing as well, so we can definitely compare to that, but that's also probably be a lot more weighted towards Japan, and not every song is available here. So if you want to go to my poll, I'll put you a link in the description where you can click on it, and this will be the page. The first page, as always, for my polls is the demographics. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but enter in if you are interested, so we can definitely see some shifts in the demographics. And then basically we just go to here. You just pick one for your favorite, second favorite, third favorite, fourth, fifth, find your top 5. I know it's going to be a really tall one, but I want to include every single one here. I think that's about 110 choices or so here. So find the one you want. I know it's not going to be super quick to find what you want, but it's in alphabetical order once you take the romanticized name, so hopefully it's not too hard to find. Once you're done, just go ahead and hit submit, and then I'll compile the results and see what is your guys' favorite MVs as well. So that's pretty much it. That is my decisions, and of course I know a lot of you won't necessarily share my decisions because I have different factors on how I rank these MVs, but hopefully you didn't seem too biased, because my favorite songs didn't do so well on here. I'd even put Jingle Bells on top 20, which is kind of sad. And my favorite song, Boku Tachi wa Hitsu no Hikari, literally was 20th place. But there are a lot of really great looking MVs, and Aqua got a pretty good list of it. You got 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place, and 9th place, I think, and 10th place. So geez, Aqua really got a lot of love, and that's because a lot of their MVs were animated very, very well, and they were relatively true to the original, and they didn't shy from making really nice effects. A lot of the later MVs and All-Stars were pretty great, even though they really lowered the quantity of MVs. The quality did pick up, and for that, I definitely appreciate the fact that it looked really nice. It's a real big shame that All-Stars is dying out, and I'm not happy about that, but at least what we got was pretty nice, and I'll definitely miss it. And I was hoping a lot of songs would eventually get the MVs and All-Stars, but I guess not now, so that's really, really unfortunate. And honestly, I am going to miss All-Stars for what it did bring to the table. I know there were things that people did not like. I know the story sometimes was kind of stupid. I agree, but the MVs and the costumes, all the stuff we could do at All-Stars was truly nice. But we can talk a little bit more about that later, of what I really did like about All-Stars. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below, and what were your favorite MVs and why. I'm curious to see how you guys differ from my opinions, although I figure the top few are probably going to be similar, because Dream in Color really, really clears a lot of the other songs when you look at that stage. How could it not be in the top? And I'm definitely a big fan of Midnight Harmony, and how they did not shy away from making it look incredible in the effects on the Niji Bridge, the Rainbow Bridge. Well, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you guys for watching, and hope to catch you guys in another video soon.